everybody. My name is Dr. Stebbins, and I want to welcome you all to Mary Washington, virtual Mary Washington. And I am an associate professor in the Department of Psychological Science. And so I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about the social sciences. Everybody who is here is an admitted student who has indicated some type of interest in one of the social sciences. And so I am a faculty member, while in psychology. I have connections with and have communicated with a lot of these different departments and act as a representative for them. So we are here, and I've invited a few students from some of the different disciplines within the social sciences to talk to you a little bit about their story and what they do here, and to be a sounding board if you have questions for them or want them to talk about specific things. So I will just tell you a little bit. So first of all, this slide that you're looking at, I just wanted to give you a sense of where you will be studying if you're in the social sciences here. The majority of our disciplines are either in Mercer Hall, which is the top photo, so that's where psychology is, Monroe, which is the middle. So Monroe houses a number of our different social science disciplines: geography, sociology, anthropology, political science, international affairs. It's one of our oldest buildings on campus. It was one of the original in 1908. And then Combs Hall for historic preservation. So historic preservation is sort of, it's a very interdisciplinary field. And so it sort of breaches social science as well as some other fields, but it is one of the ones that is sort of under my purview. And so historical preservation, they all hang out a lot in Combs Hall. And so what I thought about, sort of thinking about how I wanted to approach this today, I'm going to talk a little bit about the social sciences and what the social sciences are. But for the most part, I would like this session to be students who are in these disciplines talking about their experience, and to spend a lot of time on question and answers, right? To allow you all to get your questions answered. And if you're not asking a lot of questions, then I have some prompts to keep our students talking. But I really think you don't want to hear too much from me. Like, you want to hear what it's like to be a student here, right? And the just really cool things that our students are doing. So that's how I've set this up. All right, so the first thing that I would like to talk about and make you aware of is the fact that we are a liberal arts institution. And I know that people hear that term a lot and you don't always know what that term is. I know that the word liberal right now has these sort of political connotations, which is not what it means in this context. And I know you think about the arts and it's like, will I just be studying art when I go to one of these institutions? Liberal arts are really about, I have it up here, intellectual inquiry across a range of disciplines. So while when you major in something here, yes, you learn specialized skills. So our psychology students learn, a lot of specialized research and statistical analysis skills that they can take with them into graduate school or the careers that they go into. Every class that we have really has an emphasis on critical thinking skills, problem solving, oral communication, written communication, these skills that people are looking for that can really be applied across a range of disciplines. Because the reality is that our world is just constantly changing. We have no clue what the types of jobs are going to be that are going to be offered in a decade or in 20 years. And your interests are going to evolve and change. And so we don't want you coming out having just super specialized skills that if anything changes, you can't use those anymore, right? We want you to be in a situation where you can be flexible, right, post-graduation. And so while, yes, you do concentrate and have, your fields of studies, this is really the perspective that we take. And we really encourage people to take a wide variety of classes. Just as an example, I'm going to talk about this later, but I was a student at Mary Washington a long time ago. And my roommate was a political science major, but she was also pre-med and she wanted to be a doctor. And she actually ended up being a doctor. But she just really loved political science and she loved that perspective and wanted to make sure that she got that in college. And now she talks a lot about how she wants her students that she teaches in her residents to come in. And she says, I'll teach them the specialized stuff. Like, I don't need them to come in knowing the specifics, right? I need them to be good critical thinkers, and I need them to be good problem solvers, and I need them to be able to persevere and think through a problem. And so that's really sort of the perspective that we take. So we do want you to be taking a ton of different classes and just having a lot of different experiences. The second thing that I want to tell you is that I know a lot of you indicated interest coming in, and many of you, have a set goal of what it is that you want to do. But I also want to tell those people who feel undecided or don't really know what they want to do, that is completely okay, and that really is the point of coming to college. So yes, we have many students who come in who say, I want to go into this and end up doing this, and that's what they do. But we have even more who come in and they say, I thought I wanted to do this, and then I took this class, and now I want to do this, right? And some students who are like, oh, and then I took this class, and now I want to do this, right? And they just learn about so many interesting and unique opportunities. And so, if you don't know what you want to do, that is perfectly fine. Come in and spend your first year, your first 2 years, right? Like exploring and just having as many experiences as you can. And even if you think that what you want to do, be really flexible and open-minded, right? Because there's so much out there that you have to learn about. And so that's always something that I like to tell students as well. All right, so then just a little bit about the social sciences. Social sciences are really sort of as a group about the study of how we behave in society. And they encompass so many different disciplines, and not all of the disciplines are even on this slide because there's some that I don't represent, right, as part of my job as a faculty fellow. These are really the ones that I know the most about. So clearly psychology, but also political science, international affairs, geography, and we have a geospatial analysis major as well, anthropology and sociology. And then historical preservation, which again encompasses a lot of different things like archaeology and museum studies. So those really are the ones that I know the most about. And I thought about sort of, going through sort of the laundry list of what is this and what is that. But again, I think really what's going to be the most informative is I would like our students to take a little bit of time to talk about their experiences. So I tried to sample from a number of these different disciplines. I don't have everybody, one from every one, but just so you can hear some real stories about what people are doing. And I'm actually going to start us off talking about myself because again, I noted that I was a student at Mary Washington. I graduated back when this was Mary Washington College in 2001. I got my BS in psychology. And I always thought it was kind of odd when I had professors who were students and alums. I sort of thought, like, could you not get another type of job, right? Or do you maybe want to go out and have, more experiences? But when I went on to graduate school, so I got my PhD in 2007 from Brown University. So I went immediately into a PhD program out of college. And I realized how good of a school Mary Washington was, right? I was at Brown and Brown's a good school. And I didn't feel like the students there were having the same experiences that I was in terms of being able to interact with faculty and have research experience. And so I really started to realize, I didn't until I had graduated, how good of a school it was. And then I went on to teach at other institutions, and I really sort of started to stalk the school in terms of when there would be an open position, because there is no other place that I have found that really merges like the student experience and the faculty experience with the ability to do scholarship. So at some other schools I've taught at, there was a lot of teaching, and I love that. And there was a lot of interaction with students, but they were small schools. And so I didn't have the funding to be able to actually do the research that I wanted to do and to help students do the research that I wanted to teach them how to do. And at other schools like Brown, they're so big that the research experiences are really, numerous, but there's really a focus on graduate students. And as an undergraduate, you have a lot of TAs and you don't get to interact with the faculty as much. And Mary Washington just really sort of just linked those two and merged those two. And so I really feel like I have a great balance of, I really get to know my students, but I also get to do the research that I want to do and include them in that. And so in this picture, I actually include a student, Megan Jacobs. So Megan has graduated. She's a 2019 graduate. She was our outstanding psychology senior. She presented her research at our state conference, Virginia Psychological Association, 2 years in a row, and actually won best presentation both times. And I'm not sure any student has ever done that. So Megan was amazing. And Megan, went on to present at national conferences. So the bottom picture is us at the National Association for Psychological Science conference, where she presented a poster. And to the right is a publication that Megan and her teammates are actually on, that just came out recently about research that we did looking at dopamine and sleepiness. And so I just bring this up because I want to highlight again, like, this is what I find of value at the school, is these relationships that I get to form. So it's not just about you all, right, and the relationships that you get to have with faculty. Like, this is meaningful to us, right? And this is why we stay and why we're faculty here. And I want you to notice this paper that Megan is on came out in 2021, and she graduated in 2019. So it means that she and I have continued to work together. She is now going into speech pathology, and she's in graduate school for that. But we maintain a relationship, right? Because this is, exactly why I do what I do, is to, not just teach these students for 4 years, right? But really kind of introduce them to this world and maintain relationships. So that is my Mary Washington story. I am now going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to have our student people who have come share their story. And I've asked them all just to take like 3 minutes or so to introduce themselves, to talk a little bit about their major and their discipline that they're in, and just talk a little bit about their Mary Washington story and why they're here and what drew them here, etc. So I'm going to actually start with Mariana. I'm not playing favorites, but Mariana is a psych major, so I know Mariana.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming and spending your Thursday night with us. Again, my name is Mariana. I am a junior majoring in psychology, minoring in neuroscience. And I actually did want to say that I could have graduated early. I'm actually senior status, but I love Mary Washington so much that I decided to stay another year and do the full 4. And I have some research experience. I'm also a tour guide, so you might have seen me giving tours, or I might have given you a tour. I am also on class council, so I am the executive and the class of 2023 treasurer. So I plan a lot of events on campus, like spring formal and senior countdown, junior ring week, all that really fun stuff there. I'm also a member of Psych High, which is the International Psychology Honor Society, also the treasurer for that. I really like money. It's what I know best. And I'm probably missing something. I'm also in the honors program as well. There it is. And I am an FSEM peer mentor. So I work with first year students to help that transition from high school into college. And then lastly, I am a nationally certified cycling instructor. So I also work over at our gym, which is actually where I am now. I teach right after this. So that's a little bit about me. And just the reason why I came to Mary Washington, honestly, I was terrified to go to college. And I mean, terrified. I am very shy. I'm very introverted, creature habit. I really don't like change. So when it was time to decide what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, I just did not think about it. So I stuck my head in the sand like any adult would do. And I just pretended like it wasn't happening. I procrastinated for as long as humanly possible. My mom had to force me to fill out the Common App, the FAFSA. It was really bad. And she dragged me on college tours. I toured and applied to about 15 different schools, but none of them were doing it for me. It wasn't exciting. I knew I wanted to go to college and further my education, but I didn't actually want to go to college. And then I got another email from Mary Washington at the very end of my senior year. Graduation was right around the corner. Still had no idea what I wanted to do. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to apply. I have no idea what I'm doing anyway. So might as well put myself out there. I have nothing to lose. And then I took the 2-hour drive down here from West Virginia. I forgot to mention that I'm an out-of-state student from West Virginia with my mom on a Saturday. And it sounds really sappy. Please forgive me. But the second I stepped on campus, I just knew. I had that warm, fuzzy feeling. I was finally excited excited about going away to college, and it wasn't scary to me anymore. And I just knew that this would be a place where I would be supported. It was just big enough that I could break out of my shell and get some really great experiences, but it was just small enough that I would be able to do research with faculty members and have all of my professors know my name and all those different really integral parts of my education that are outside of the classroom as well. And I really do have a family here on campus. I'm involved in 1,001 things. And I really do love it here. I never go home to West Virginia because I'm so busy. My parents get really mad at me for it. But yeah, that's me. I don't know if that was 3 minutes or not, but there you go.
Thank you, Mariana. Mariana does way too much, and I study sleep, and I worry about Mariana and Mariana's sleep deprivation. Thank you, Mariana. Appreciate it. So I'm going to go to Jackson next. Jackson is a representative from political science.
Hello, I'm Jackson. I'm a political science major. I'm from Northern Virginia. So when I was in high school, there were a few things that I was kind of thinking about when deciding on where to go to college. And one of the things I noticed in high school was that I really um, excelled when I was in a classroom with, not a ton of kids, and you could have that relationship with your teacher. So I was kind of scared thinking about going to bigger colleges where I'm just a number and I can't really email the professor and know I'm going to get a response, within 24 hours. So Mary Washington like offered that small class size that I really wanted. In all of my classes that I've had, maybe just except for an intro class freshman year, it's been like 25 kids or less. And you really get to have like a deep connection with your professor where you can email, even if it's not totally related to class and you just, need some extra help or want to talk about things outside of class, like getting internships or just anything. Teachers here have been so willing to help because they actually care and they know who you are. They take the time to really, every class I have, they take the time to make sure they're like, okay, you're Jackson, you're Leah, they make sure to really know who you are and put a name to a face. Um, and my probably the biggest, not the biggest, but one of the biggest reasons I came here, when I was looking at a lot of small schools, like I said, I wanted that small class size. But a big thing in my decision was actually something that doesn't have to do with UMW at all, and it's just the location. Um, I found that Fredericksburg is my favorite city in the world, because we have such a great downtown. Literally from campus, you can walk probably 5 minutes and you can go to like a variety of restaurants, bars, there's just activities to do. And outside of downtown, it's still a very populated area. There's lots of shopping centers and activities. So that was a big thing for me because I didn't want to be locked up on campus all the time, losing my mind about class and stuff like that. So I've found that Fredericksburg is just a great place to be if you want to socialize or, go do anything off campus, go to a trampoline park or go bowling or whatever you want to do. And that was particularly important because a lot of the other smaller schools I was looking at had like one 7-Eleven and one Walmart, and you're going to be driving, 30 minutes if you want to go somewhere else. So that was really important to me. What has kept me at UMW? So like I said, I really wanted that small class size, and I've been extremely successful with that. And what I've come to learn is, when you're looking at colleges, you think of colleges as this kind of tangible institution. You think of the infrastructure, the buildings, the campus. But what I found is that a university is made up of the people in it. And I can speak only from my department, the political science department, but the people, the teachers, the students, everyone has been so great. And you get to form a lot of relationships, not only with your professors, but with people in your classes that you might have in a few of your classes. And you make a lot of friends, people you can lean on for study sessions. So I think the people have really been what's kept me here. It's just a really great environment. And everyone here is so nice and so caring. And it's been really great. So yeah, that's been my experience here at UMW.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jackson. And Elisa from geography.
Hi, everybody. My name is Elisa, and I'm a sophomore geography major. A couple of the other disciplines I'm involved in. For my minor, I'm doing climate sciences, and I'm involved in the GIS certificate. and I'm in the honors program. But I really chose UMW because of like how personable the professors are and also the location for me too. I am from Northern Virginia, so the distance from home was perfect. It's enough to be independent, but it's close enough that you still have the opportunity to go home for the weekends pretty easily. And if you want to go anywhere else, it's not too long of a drive. It's right in between DC and Richmond, so it's a great spot. But the professors really care about the students, and that's something I think you'll hear a lot of students say here is that they really do care. And also for me, the small class sizes was a really big plus because I think in a lot of bigger schools, you're not going to really have that relationship with your professors. And like for me, sometimes I will spend like an hour talking to the geography professors. They're so great, and they just really, like they listen and they're fun to talk to. They're great people, and the geography department students are wonderful too. And that's really where I started making friends, because a lot of times people stick to their FSEMs and like the people that they were around in their freshman year. But once I started branching out into geography, like I met so many people and it was so easy to get involved and kind of like find my spot at UMW. And I also had that kind of feeling like once I got to campus, I was like, oh, wow, this is not what I expected. It was like different. It was a little bit bigger than I thought it would be. And like the buildings just had this really nice style to them. And it's just a wonderful environment. So I love it here. And I'm so happy with my choice. I got to come right before the pandemic started. So I haven't had it back up to what it was before, but we're getting there. And they've been doing a great job with making it fun for us, even during these times.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Elisa. And I just want to make sure I had invited a student from anthropology to come, and I don't see them. Mika or Micah? All right, they may something, with Zoom, it may have gotten, they may, I just sent them an email actually, so they may pop in. I was hoping that we could hear a little bit from anthropology as well. But we do have a psychology perspective, a political science, and a geography. So people from fairly diverse perspectives. And so, yeah, now what I would like to do is open it up for questions for you all. So you can ask, these students about their experience generally. You can ask about those specific disciplines. You can ask more specific discipline questions, and I can try to answer. I do have a lot under me, so I don't know every single thing about every single major, but I can try to approach that. And we can go from there. And again, if you're a little bit quiet or shy, I can also start to ask them some questions to get them talking and to get you thinking. So if you have any, just pop in. You can also ask in the chat, and I think Haley will be monitoring the chat and can read out your questions if you don't want to say it. So I'll give you a minute of silence like I do in my class. I always call it awkward silence time, to wait for people to talk and to ask a question. All right, so I actually see this in the chat. Yeah, so somebody's asking about the historical preservation. So yeah, historical preservation is one of the disciplines that we have. It's actually, I'm not sure if you're familiar, but it's actually really, really unique to have to have an undergraduate program in historical preservation. They are extraordinarily interdisciplinary, so they have a wide variety of different faculty who do different things, ranging from museum studies to actual preservation studies. I know that they have classes in archaeology as well. They are my favorite thing about historical preservation is the role that they play on campus in terms of helping us to think about and to preserve our own environment. So case in point, we actually, a while ago, they were going to tear down the dining hall, which was Seco Beck Hall, and put up a university center there. And historical preservation really stepped in and said, the perspective is this is a really important building, right, for the school. So instead, they tore down the building that I was in, which is psychology, which was not as nice of a building or as important. And so that's really the perspective. And I know that our students in historical preservation have just a really, really interesting and unique experience. And again, I mean, I could talk forever about just the different things that they do. They really have applied experiences within Fredericksburg. So there's a lot of going into the downtown, right, and working and having internship opportunities, et cetera. They play a really big role in our sort of our tourist community, right? Like helping to help people understand, right, the history and giving, you know, some of the tours, et cetera. So I'm not sure if that sort of addresses what it is that you're looking for, but it really is, it's a very unique discipline. And I don't know, have any of our students, did you take any historical preservation classes? Oh, Haley?
Yeah, I actually did. So I don't know if I mentioned in the beginning, I'm a class of 2021 graduate. So I just graduated last May. And I actually only took the intro class. But it's correct. So I actually took it during the pandemic. So it was slightly different. But with that, we did a lot of work with the downtown area. And we did a project where we had to compare pictures of like what the buildings look like now compared to what they used to look like many years ago. And so we did an analysis kind of comparing those buildings, but that's just like one of the examples of things that like you'll do. And a lot, once you get into your higher level classes, you'll kind of do more outside activities. So it really gives you more of a hands-on experience. It's a very hands-on major as well.
Yeah, perfect. Haley, what was your major?
I was communication and digital studies.
Okay. Yeah. So this is beautiful, right? Like this is the joy of the liberal arts institution, right? Is that somebody who does communications is like, yeah, but I took the historical preservation class, right? And that's a really interesting thing. So beautiful. Thank you very much. So somebody asked about the freshman seminar and benefits that you got from freshman seminar. So I'm going to ask our three students, maybe we'll go in a different order. I'll start with Jackson and just have you each talk about, because every student does have to take a freshman seminar, just to talk a little bit about your experience with freshman seminar.
Yeah, so my understanding is the purpose really of a freshman seminar is it doesn't really matter like what the topic of the class is. It's more to just kind of get a understanding of what a college course is like. And there's a lot of instruction on, okay, you should do this when you're writing a college paper, or like these are things you should go to your professor with. So for me, when I took mine was a class called Finding Fashion. So we talked a lot about the fashion industry and how it affects the environment and just a lot of aspects of just clothing that you don't think about, like how with fast fashion today, you know, there's so many clothes that are being worn 3 times and thrown out, and there's an incredible amount of waste. So I learned a lot about that and just practiced good college skills about how to write papers and do research and stuff like that. So that was my experience. It's mostly just to kind of adapt you to the college life and being in class at college.
Perfect. Elisa, how about you?
So I actually really enjoyed the FSEM. I didn't expect to because I was a little bit nervous about the FSEM that I was in specifically, but I found that it was a great opportunity to meet other freshmen that are kind of like interested in the same things as you. And for me at the time, there was an honor, like if you're in the honors program, there was a requirement that you take an honors FSEM. And so because of that, I found a lot of friends that were navigating the same waters that I was navigating and like learning about like all that we had to do for the honors program and like, you know, like learning campus together. And from my FSEM, I actually have a lot of very close friends still. And like I live with 2 of them still. And so it was just a great way to meet people and find friends like right off the bat because you often live in the same building as them too. So that was really helpful for me, being kind of nervous, being like a freshman, not knowing anything about the school quite yet. And also like the professor is your advisor for your first year until you declare your major, I believe. And so mine was Dr. Scanlon, and she was wonderful. And they really like guide you through it and like ask you what you're interested in. And when you pick your schedule, like you have a meeting with them and they talk you through like what kind of classes you might need for the next semester. And like they just kind of help you through like starting out college, like figuring out registration and like all the things you're going to need to line up for the future at your time here.
What was your topic, Elisa? What made you nervous?
Mine was Down the Rabbit Hole. So it was like the Alice in Wonderland one. And I'm not very much of an English reading person. So I was scared about how many papers I'd have to write, but it was actually pretty good.
Good, good. And Mariana.
All right, so I took a climate change and energy resources. So we talked about like glaciers and fossil fuels and a bunch of things that are very out of my wheelhouse. That's a different type of science that I'm interested in. But even though that was the topic, we really didn't focus on that all that much. It was sort of like the baseline, but we really branched out and I gave a 15-minute presentation on Monsters Inc. and how that's an energy crisis and how we can relate that to the course. And it was really just fundamental skills that you'll use all throughout your time here at Mary Washington. Like before then, I had really never known how to do proper citations or how to write a research paper or do a literature search, things like that, that I'm still using today. I'm still really great friends with people in my FSEM. I'm also an FSEM peer mentor, so I can talk your ear off about this program. Sorry, it's been a long day. So I was the FSEM peer mentor for the amusement park Pastime Thrill in 2020. And then this past year, I did the Let's Get Happy Positive Psychology first year seminar with Dr. Liss, who's actually the psychology department chair. So it's a really great program. And with that peer mentor, you have sort of like a big brother, big sister, big sibling type person that's there for you that can answer all of your questions. My mentees from last year, from 2020, still reach out to me and ask me questions. So it really helps. You have like a pinpoint person that you can go to for whatever it may be. It's a really great program, really unique to Mary Washington because it's also capped at 15 students. So it's really small discussion-based seminar style. And again, you are probably housed in the same residence hall, maybe not roommates or suite mates with someone in your FSEM, but you'll run into them in the kitchen and in the laundry room. So it really does create that little living, learning community.
Perfect. And I'll talk about,
Could I add something to that real quick?
yeah, go for it.
Just going off of what Mariana said, so like you do get a peer mentor, which is someone who I believe took that same exact class as a freshman seminar before you. And that person is always a great resource because it's someone who has been in the same position that you're in right now. And I know me, even right now, I still talk to my peer mentor and I can ask her just questions simply like, oh, have you done this class? You know, what should I do here? You know, oh, I'm thinking about like doing this. I'm thinking about doing a thesis. Like, how was your experience? So it's a great resource that you get through the freshman seminar is just like another student who you can really talk to whenever you need to ask any questions about college.
Yeah, and it's a great resource too. So I'll talk a little bit about FSEM just from a faculty perspective. I teach one on sleep, and so it's called the science of sleep. But the whole idea is sort of learning about what I call your sleep identity. So this is one of my research interests is on sleep and sleepiness and sleep deprivation. And so we spend the semester thinking about the literature on are naps good, right? And if you're a morning person, could you be a night owl or vice versa? But all of these students are correct that the real goal, the topic is supposed to, be fun and something that you're interested in, but it really is about teaching you how to be a successful student, right? And taking advantage of just learning all of the different ins and outs. And so I agree, the peer mentor from my perspective is a really helpful thing because I know that you all will talk to them more than me about the things that you're really struggling with, right? Like you come to me with like the boring questions, right? But the peer mentors are the ones who are like, how do I actually register, right? Like what are the tips for getting into the classes that I want to get into? And so it's really helpful. I do want to clarify. So we do not have any TAs at Mary Washington. So we have no students who are teaching any classes, who are teaching any labs, et cetera. Like you will always be taking a class with a faculty member who, the majority who have terminal degrees in their fields. However, we do have students who are involved, right? So who act as peer mentors, who act as tutors, right? Who take on roles in helping out in labs, et cetera. We have a ton of opportunities within our department to be lab aides, to be student aides, right? To actually earn money, right? Being a part of the department, to be student reps. So students really take on a large role, but I do want to clarify that we do not have any teaching assistants. Like it is all faculty all the time for your classes. What other questions do we have?
If I could throw something out there really quickly, I am a student aide for the geography department. So if anybody has any questions about that realm, I'm happy to answer them too.
I also forgot that I'm a psych rep, so I work with all the faculty, so I get to sit in on department meetings, which is super cool. I get to vote on things in the department. So what I'm telling you is Dr. Stebbins can't get enough of me, and she's my advisor, so I'm always hanging out with Dr. Stebbins.
All the time. Other questions or other things that you want our students to talk about?
Just to kind of throw this out there, sometimes I know that this is a question. Can you speak a little bit on kind of research opportunities and things that you can do as a student with your professors and kind of because of that small class size as well?
Yeah, let's start with Elisa. Any research opportunities or other types of, like things like study abroad, et cetera, that you can get involved in?
Yeah, actually, I did a research project last semester. It's still ongoing. It's been longer than we expected it to be, but what it is it's actually a research project in partnership with a history department for the National Park Service. And what it is, it's actually like a paid position in this case. Not all of them are, but sometimes there's opportunities to be paid for a research thing. And we're creating a story map talking about segregation practices that were in place in the national parks back in like the 1930s, 1940s. And we have like select national parks that we went through. And in one case, we actually have a national park here in Fredericksburg. So we went to the park and like went through the woods and like put it down on a map on paper. And it was very involved. And like my side of the project, and I worked with another student on it too, was to do the maps for the story map and put it all together really. And it was using research from Dr. Devlin in the history department. And she's an American Studies professor. So it was very involved, and the fact it was a paid position was also really cool and exciting. And there's another research project that I had the opportunity to be on this semester, but I didn't think I would have enough time. And so the friend that I worked with on the other project is on this one now too, with one of the same professors. And so that was Dr. Hannah, the GIS professor, and they're doing a like civil rights trail mapping project in downtown Fredericksburg. And yeah, it was a really cool opportunity. So there's a lot of opportunity here, especially if you get that connection with your professors, then they know your potential and they can reach out to you for opportunities like that.
And I love that you had some interaction with history, right? Again, showing sort of this interdisciplinary connection that it's, you can be a major, but we really span sort of the different disciplines. Mariana, do you want to talk a little bit about like the 492 experience, like 491, 492, what that is and what that opportunity is?
Yeah, so for next year, I am on an independent research team with Dr. Mei Liu, who is one of our biological psychologists in the department, and it is a year-long research project. So it's 4 students and 1 professor, and we work together the whole semester on a project, and it's really exciting. I'm so excited to do this research. So we are going to be doing research on sexual relationships and satisfaction, most likely in women, but we're not sure yet, and I'm just so excited about it because I get to work one-on-one with the faculty member. And while I have done other research within the psych department and the biology department, I'm really going to be getting that hands-on one-on-one experience. I'm going to be strengthening those skills, and hopefully I'll get my name published on a paper at the end of it. Fingers crossed, given significant results, of course, but I also do research in the biology department right now with animals. So I'm doing a study on the effects of high fat and high sugar on memory. So that's really exciting as well. Just tying in another department. I actually took the professor last semester for human anatomy, and he was like, hey, you're really cool. Come be in my research class. So there I am doing research with animals, which is cool as well.
It's awesome. Yeah. And 491, 492, it's a year-long experience. And yeah, many students come out of that experience. That's, talking about my former student, Megan, going to national conferences, publishing. We don't like to differentiate, right, like real research that students do in class versus, what they do with faculty. But this is research that really is at a high level. And we have a number of students who have the opportunity to do that every year. And Jackson, why don't you talk to us about some opportunities in your department?
So I haven't actually done any research with faculty yet, but I have had an opportunity presented to me by one of my professors who has talked to me about doing an honors senior thesis. So essentially what that would be is I would get it counts as a class, so you'd get 3 credits per semester And you basically you work with a professor that you want to advise you while you do this thesis, and you get to choose a topic that you'd like that, falls under your field. And you do a lot of independent research, and you work with a professor to get help, and eventually you'll write I think it's a 30 to 40 page thesis, and then present it to a group of professors in the department. So yeah, so that's something I've been considering. I think it's nice that it counts as class credit, so you can really devote a good amount of time to it and create a good thesis.
Perfect. Haley, are you jumping in to say anything?
Yeah, there was a question about can we talk about some of the classes that are offered and you take through the psych department? I don't know, Mariana, if you want to take that one.
Yeah, so I have taken almost every single psych course in the department. I am running out of classes to take. So you'll start with your intro to psychology, general psychology, and then you can take things like social psychology. So that's just social behavior, how we interact with other human beings. Abnormal psychology, talking about some psychological disorders, mental health issues, things like that. We also have developmental psychology. There's infant and child, so looking at munchkins, things like that. We also have adolescent and then adult. We also have classes on psych of exceptional youth, trying to think, biological psychology, cognitive neuroscience. Let me see, I'm running out of things to take. Statistics, that's a basic one. Oh my gosh, psychopharmacology, that's my favorite class I've ever taken. Yeah, so that's a class all about drugs in the brain and what different things do to your brain. Cognitive psychology, learning and motivation. I think I got all of them. I think I missed some electives, so I'll let Dr. Stebbins take it.
There's a lot of course offerings in psychology. The core, we are a very research-based program. So you're taking both intro and advanced statistics. And you are also doing an intro level research methods class where you're collecting data, and then an advanced level one as well. So either a seminar or the 491, 492 that Mariana is doing. So it's a fairly heavy research oriented class or sequence. It's pretty unique in terms of looking at what most psych programs require. We have many of our majors who go into graduate schools who come back and say, I was like way more prepared than anybody else in my program, just in terms of the stats knowledge that I had in the research background. So we're pretty proud of what people come out with in psych. So I think I would like to sort of, not keep you too much longer than, 6:50-ish or so. So I think we have time for one or two more questions if anybody else wants to. So I'll actually then ask each of our students, maybe just to sort of end with, if you had one piece of advice, either to the former you, right, or to a student coming in, what would you have done differently, right? Or what would you advise people to really be thinking about as they come in as a new student? And Jackson, do you want me to start with you, or you want to start?
Yeah, sure. I think I got something. So this is something that I wish I told myself. And it's just to kind of be proactive when planning out what classes you want to take, especially having to balance both what your major classes require and your gen education major requirements are. So what I did was I kind of my first 3 semesters just went and tried to knock out as many general education classes as possible. And then I dove into my major, and ever since I've been taking pretty much all major classes, and now I'm pretty much almost done with my major. But it totally slipped my mind that I had to take 4 what we call writing intensive classes, that are just classes that have more like writing assignments than other classes. And so now I'm stuck trying to figure out how to plan my schedule and find which writing intensive classes to take. So I would say just talk to your peer mentor, talk to your advisor earlier than later, and try to figure out what classes you can get out and what classes you need to check off your general education and check off your major. And the resources at Mary Washington are very helpful and can help you do that. I've even went to them recently and have been able to plan out how to get these last 4 writing intensives out of my way when I'm trying to finish up college here. So definitely be proactive about what classes you're going to take.
Awesome. Thank you. Lisa, how about you?
It was kind of hard to think of something because my first year was like a lot of things were online. But I think for me, it would have been to just like relax a little bit, you know. My first semester was 17 credits, and I don't know why I loaded myself like that, but it was just a lot. And I think that if I had like chilled out a little bit and maybe like pushed one of those classes until the next semester, it would have been very helpful for me. So I think like you know, like high school, a lot of high schools have that mindset where it's like, oh my gosh, you need to get all these APs and come in with all these credits and graduate early. But I think like just taking my time and, you know, like being present and enjoying my time here would have been something I wish that I did more. And the campus really is like the beautiful in every season, you know. The snow here is beautiful, the spring is beautiful, and I wish I spent more time just like being present on campus and like cherishing what's around me. And I still have 2 more years to do that. But yeah, that's something I wish I did a lot more in my freshman year.
Perfect. And Mariana, how about you?
So this applies a little bit more towards high school and finishing up high school and going into college. But you might not like to hear this, but listen to your parents when they tell you to fill out the FAFSA and to do your Common App and to really like be thoughtful about what colleges you want to tour. Take that seriously. I was kind of haphazardly going through, and I wasn't really doing tours that I wanted to do. I was just like, oh, this sounds good. Why not? And I did end up being where I wanted to be. But just take advantage of that time. Also enjoy high school. Soak up all those little moments that you are having right now, because while college is super fun and wonderful, and I do love it here, you know, you want to soak up that time as well. And I think there's a lot of emphasis on, okay, high school is for college preparation. Like this is just a stepping stone into college, and then college is for adult life. So really just be present in the moment. Soak up those last few moments that you have. If you're a high school senior and you're wrapping things up in your last semester, yeah, just be present and enjoy yourself, and don't stress out too much. You're going to end up where you're meant to be. Trust the process. It's a bear, I know, but that's my biggest piece of advice.
I just wanted to add one more point off of those last 2 points. I remember coming here my freshman year, and there were so many people telling me, you only have 4 years here, they fly by, like make sure you soak it in and be present. And I was like, yeah, I got 4 more years though, so it's fine. And now I'm about to be a senior. I literally got here in 2019, and a little bit into the second semester, I blinked my eyes after COVID hit, and now I'm a junior, second semester. So looking back, I really wish I took that information in a little bit better and internalized it. And now it's my turn to tell you guys, wherever you go, if you go to college, definitely don't take it for granted and try to soak up, you know, all the fun you can. Relax, have fun. It goes by quicker than you think.
Yes, I agree with all of that. And I think my piece of advice to you all would be make the connections early with faculty, right? Like we are here for you all. We are here. This is why we're here. We want to, you know who you are and work with you. And from day one, you know, you have the opportunity to be in the research environment, et cetera. So do that early. Don't try to hide. Don't try to, you know, sit in the back of the class and not be called on, because that's the real advantage. So I will end with that by saying that my contact information is in the chat, and this is our mentality. You know, if you have a question, reach out to me. Feel free to reach out to any person in a department that you're interested in. The chair will respond. And, you know, please don't be afraid to ask questions and to communicate with us, because we're here to answer all of your questions. So really appreciate it. I will